Welcome back to Module 6. It's Angela, and today I am talking about all things sleep. And this is really exciting because I believe so much is possible when we make sleep a priority and when we really focus on sleep, because I believe it is one of the most, if not the most important component of overall health and hormonal health. It really does impact how we eat, what we crave, how we feel, mood-wise, energy level, and our weight, of course. And that's because our sleep cycle and our hormonal cycles are very intertwined. So all hormones, whether it's cortisol, melatonin, TSH, they ebb and flow in a 24-hour period to control that sleep-wake cycle. So when our hormones are off, our sleep is going to be off, and vice versa. So when we aren't getting good sleep night after night, it can create a slew of imbalances and hormones and blood sugar, and we're going to talk about all that. Today, we're going to talk about 5 hormones in particular that are related to sleep and impacting really everything, again, from blood sugar, how we eat, anxiety, causing that stubborn weight, and so on. And just a moment to come back to the stubborn weight is that the science is clear that a chronic pattern of sleeping less than 6 hours a night is associated with a high body mass index, weight gain, and obesity. So I hope what I'm about to share with you today is motivation to maybe help you make some of those tweaks in your lifestyle, in your sleep, rituals, and your rituals around sleep, your perspective and mindset around sleep, and what needs to really change. Let's be really honest with ourselves, because it can create a huge, profound effect, a ripple effect when you get sleep dialed and you're sleeping at the optimal time. Okay? Not all sleep, not 8 hours, all 8 hours of sleep is created equal. And we'll talk about that. So your habits around sleep might have started in childhood, so very young, might be from college, might be when you started to become a mom. And I understand that those habits can be hard to break. So lots of compassion as a mom too. But let's get this dialed in. And for those of you who've been dealing with sleep for a long, long time, it's a big issue. You feel like you've been to every specialist under the sun, tons of testing, and you haven't, no matter what you do, nothing has worked. And I want to give you some hope, because I'm guessing that many of the doctors that you have seen aren't addressing the hormonal components, the blood sugar components, along with the mental emotional components when they gave you their treatment plans. Know that there's so much available here that we are creating space for and holding and supporting you in this program. Maybe it's testing to see more thorough hormone testing, to see what your hormones are doing over a 24-hour period that's going to help you get deeper answers. There's so much to explore here. So I'm really excited. So we're going to talk about that role of sleep in hormone balance. We're going to talk about those 5 different hormones. I'm going to share the Happy Hormone Method sleep regimen, our simple sleep regimen, and then share our tried and true tips. These are tips that I have learned, and Danielle has learned through our own journeys, and we've learned from other specialists. We've also used with our clients, and they've been the most profound. So I'll end with that. Okay, so we're going to dive into the hormones that are deeply connected to sleep, play a big role in hormonal health, and all the issues and symptoms you might be feeling right now. So the first hormone is cortisol. It's our stress hormone, right? We know it probably pretty well. It follows a rhythm in a 24-hour period with our sleep and wake cycles. And levels peak in the early morning around 8 a.m. That's what gets us up, gets like excited to jump out of bed. And then also it actually gradually declines throughout the day to reach its lowest point at night. Okay? So much can disrupt this cortisol rhythm or curve, from environmental stressors to physical stressors, emotional stress, poor sleep, artificial lights, so many things. When women come to us, often their cortisol curve is flipped. That looks like being tired in the morning and wired at night. And that might be very much your reality. So particular to sleep, elevated evening cortisol levels can make it difficult to not only fall asleep, but also to reduce sleep quality, so causing more interruptions. Really because it impacts the level of our sleepy hormone, melatonin. Okay? Not to mention that the elevated evening cortisol levels and, being wired at night is also most likely going to lead to night eating and eating more calories because you're up later. Okay. Elevated cortisol can also cause some other issues. I just want to point out that are kind of linked to all this, and that it can cause, increased cravings, and particularly cravings for those sugary processed foods. And also elevated cortisol and, having a high stress is also the body is getting the signal to store fat and calories to deal with the threat and the emergency, right? So, needless to say, sleep is something that needs to be 100% a priority at this point in your life and in my life if I want to feel my best every day. So, so maybe some of us need to be real with ourselves and asking ourselves, am I willing to make sleep a priority moving forward? Okay, so a little bit about cortisol. Leptin. Okay, leptin is the next hormone and it's affected by sleep. And this is our hunger a suppressant hormone that makes us feel full or satiated. Okay, so when we are sleep deprived, we have lower levels of leptin in the blood. So that means we won't have leptin telling us that we're full. So that leads to more food, more eating, more calorie intake. Most often, that's with foods, again, that aren't helpful for our metabolism. Okay, so poor sleep, lower leptin levels. And our third hormone is ghrelin. Ghrelin is our hunger hormone. And guess what? When we're sleep deprived, our levels of ghrelin increase. The higher your levels of ghrelin, the hungrier you are. Therefore, if you want to shed stubborn weight, we have to lower the ghrelin levels, and sleep is a great way to do this. Okay. Other culprits of high ghrelin are fasting, skipping meals, which I was notorious for, not getting enough protein, which is a big issue, especially for women during this time in our lives. We need more than ever. And we're talking about that all in these modules, how important protein intake is. So all things are going to support you in lowering that hunger hormone, that ghrelin in the blood. Next, insulin. A hormone produced by the pancreas plays a significant role in regulating blood sugar levels, and it also has a notable impact on sleep. There are several ways that insulin and blood sugar ups and downs can influence our sleep patterns. So we have high blood sugar levels, which is hyperglycemia. That can lead to frequent urination or dehydration. Those things can cause us to awake in the night. Then we have low blood sugar levels like hypoglycemia that can trigger symptoms like sweating, shaking, anxiety, which can also disturb sleep. Okay. Even those blood sugar dips in the night also can trigger and release cortisol that get the blood sugar back up. That can wake us up, and then we are going to suffer, a lot of us, from those sleep disruptions or insomnia, keeping us up, longer than than just that quick waking. It's hard to go back to sleep, right? So insulin and cortisol work together. Insulin puts away sugar for emergencies, and cortisol takes it out for emergencies, okay? So the chronic ups and downs when it comes to blood sugar is very common with adrenal-related situations and is a foundational hormone that we need to get in check to have balanced hormones and really preventative health in general, especially for our brain health as we age. So lack of sleep or also stress will create a need for more sugar. So cortisol will be raised, as well as our ghrelin and our cravings. Okay. These cravings can be really hard to resist, but the work you're doing with the diet and prioritizing sleep are two huge foundations that will help you get this all in check. So again, as we keep seeing, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because poor sleep increases our insulin resistance and promotes glucose intolerance. And then insulin resistance and blood sugar imbalances can impact our sleep. So that's why we focus so much on blood sugar balance in this program. And our last hormone is melatonin. That's the hormone that makes us sleepy, which I've mentioned already. we need to optimize melatonin because this hormone helps us not only fall asleep easily, but minimizes sleep interruptions throughout the night. Melatonin is a hormone that your brain produces in response to darkness. So the closer that you go to sleep when it's darker, the better. So you probably know that 8 or 9 hours of sleep a night is optimal, but it's also important to understand that the timing of sleep is just as important. 8 hours of sleep from midnight to 8 a.m. is not equal to sleep from 10 p.m., let's say, to 6 a.m. Not all sleep is created equal. So 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 7 a.m., let's say, is optimal because we are diurnal beings. We are meant to sleep with the cycles of light and dark, sleep during the dark, and our hormones, which impact us physically, emotionally, mentally, behaviorally, fluctuate at their natural, optimal state in rhythm with the light and dark. This is our circadian rhythm, and this follows that 24-hour cycle, which might be one of the big reasons why sleep has been a challenge for you, because as we've evolved as humans and we have artificial light, moving further away from those patterns of sleeping when it's dark and being awake when it's light. We've all experienced this, right? So if we stay up late, we stay past 11, maybe 12, we get that second wind. That's cortisol, and it messes with the melatonin. And really, we've missed that optimal window when melatonin is nice and high and supportive for a great sleep. So those are the 5 hormones that I wanted to share with you briefly, just to have some context. And now we're going to talk about what we can do about all of this. So here is HHM's simple sleep protocol. So the first piece is that making sure that you're eating a balanced diet throughout the day, especially enough protein, because remember, you are always going to feel hungry until you've gotten enough protein. So make sure that's a priority. And of course, along with the protein, healthy fats. Okay, plenty of healthy fats and healthy carbs. You're going to follow those meal plans, those suggestions from Danielle. So that's the first step. The next step, 8 o'clock. We're going to recommend that you stop eating at 8 p.m., if not earlier. To help me do this, to put a fine line in the sand for myself, is I brush my teeth with my kids, okay, when they're going to bed. And that helps me to refrain from that snacking. The only exception to this is if you have if you feel that blood sugar is what's causing these nighttime wake ups, you might want to incorporate right before bed a protein fat snack, like let's say a handful of Brazilian nuts or a apple with some nut butter. Okay, that you do right before bed. You could explore that. Okay, and that could be something that you can reach out to us about. Around 9, we're gonna invite you. We suggest to have herbal tea like passion flower, chamomile, lavender, lemon balm. Very relaxing, helps with cravings, and I find it takes a place of my need for snacking. It's a sweet little ritual for me, and it just really fills that void. All right, number 4, or the next one, 9:45, we recommend a magnesium supplement to start. We like to take that about 45 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes before we want to fall asleep. My favorite magnesium supplement is magnesium oil from Ancient Minerals, and it's magnesium chloride, and I use it and I spray a carrier oil first. So like I put on an avocado oil or olive oil or coconut oil first, because magnesium oil can be itchy. And then I spray about 7 sprays on my belly. I've done this every night since I was pregnant with my 9-year-old, and it's tried and true. My sister told me about it many, many years ago, and I don't want to mess with a good thing. I sleep wonderfully, and so it works for me. If you try other forms of magnesium and it hasn't worked for you, in different forms, I recommend maybe giving it a try. All right. Many of us are deficient in magnesium. So even if it doesn't help you, like doesn't cure your sleep issue, most people are deficient in magnesium. So it's going to help in other ways as well. Okay. All right. So during that time, you're doing magnesium oil and you have your tea, you're doing some sort of calming practice during that time before bed. So you can process the day's events and you can come down and release the stresses of the day in a healthy way. Okay, there's many ways that you can do this. You can meditate. If you don't like to meditate, you can just do some simple breathing. You can put your legs up the wall. I like to put my legs up my bed frame of my bed, and my back's on my bed and my legs are up the bed frame. And then I can just turn around and go right to sleep from there. But 10, 15 minutes of legs up the wall, very, very soothing for the nervous system right before bed. Again, you can just take a few deep breaths, cleansing breaths. You can do some journaling. That's a wonderful way to come down from the day, to process the day, to think of all the things you're grateful for. And this process, this ritual doesn't have to take long. This doesn't have to be an hour long, but we definitely recommend you taking a few moments, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes while you're drinking your tea to have this ritual. It can be a game changer and really allowing, again, you to get out the stresses of the day too. So you're processing it and getting out instead of holding it in. Okay. All right. And the most important thing we recommend is going to bed by 10:30, lights out as best you can. 8 to 9 hours of sleep at the right time between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. as best you can, again, is going to be very beneficial for you in falling asleep and getting deeper sleep that won't be interrupted. So right now you're going to bed 10:30, great. If you're going to bed later, like midnight, I suggest that you slowly break that down every night, 15 minutes earlier until you get to that 10:30 point. Don't try to do it all at once, okay? For some of you, melatonin might be stronger even earlier. So you want to just really start to have some awareness around when that melatonin is really strongest in your body. All right, so we're going to have all of this in PDF form inside the module, but that is our simple sleep regimen. However, we know that sleep can be very challenging. So we want to share a few more helpful tips that we have that really have been game changers for us through the years and our clients. So I'm going to end with that. Number one is lower the lighting in your house to emulate the darkness outside. Being exposed to light at night can block melatonin production, that sleepy hormone. Number two, earplugs. Block out noise, avoid disruptions. I was super resistant to this, especially because I have young children, and my husband would wear them and swore by them. And as soon as my kids were old enough my youngest is 4, he can get out of his bed and come to me if he needs me, I started trying this out. And it's been a game changer for me. I'm a light sleeper and I hear everything that goes on, and not to have to hear the traffic or a big truck go by. It's been so wonderful to see how much deeper sleep I can get when I don't have those interruptions. So I highly recommend that. There's all types of different earplugs. Maybe, we've definitely bought a lot to try them out through the years, but it can be a big game changer. So I highly, highly recommend them. Limit screen time. Try not to do screens the last hour, even 30 minutes before bed. Again, that light messes with the pineal gland's ability to secrete that optimal melatonin, that sleepy hormone. All right. We can support you with supplementation if you need, but relaxing herbs, again, like chamomile, lemon balm, milky oat straw, a sleepy blend, whether that's a tea or a tincture, an herb, lavender, different sleepy blends can be helpful. And again, if this is something you want to discuss with a coach, that's a perfect time to do that on one of our calls or in the Facebook group. And we can get a formula or something, a protocol supportive and customized to you. Okay. One of our other favorite calming supplements is L-theanine. So you might want to try that out. And number 5 is a face mask. So decreasing those light interruptions, if that's an issue. If people get up in the middle of the night in your space or in your home and lights go on and that's going to impact your sleep, a face mask is a great solution. And number 6 is a fan. This can be great for white noise, blocking out other disruptive noises, as well as creating consistent airflow, which can be great if you are dealing with night sweats and things like that. Number 7 is to make your room a sleep sanctuary. So that might be clearing out furniture in your room and clutter, clearing up your side table, making it feel like when you walk in your room, it's a calming place where you want to sleep. Okay. All right. Number 8 is to stop coffee 10 hours before sleep. So we recommend coffee curfew. That's around noon. Okay. So that's all the tips I have for you now. What if moving forward right now, you made sleep the biggest priority and sleeping at the most optimal times a priority? How could that change your everyday? I'm excited to see what happens when you start using this regimen nightly and you follow the protocol. Again, the PDF is included in the module with even more suggestions. We hope that you enjoy our interview with Dr. Effie and the rest of the resources inside this module. If you want to go deeper because you're doing all these things, but they aren't working for you, they aren't doing the trick, we highly recommend you upgrade to include the testing and working with our practitioner to get more thorough hormone testing. And that is all for now. See you in the next one.